Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you?
How are we? You can hear them shout. Sean, we had a great day.
Perfect.
We talked about culture. We talked about productivity, leadership, sales, trust, and we had the best workshop is what I hear was the workshop that was taught by the 4 youngest people in the audience, the children from a lighthouse school, and they have a question for you. So I would like to start with them.
You want to start with them? Okay. Well, good to be with all of you. Thank you for having me today.
What, in your opinion, is the most important habit of all 7? And why do you think so?
Could you all hear that? What, in your opinion, is the most important habit of all 7? And why do you think so?
Right.
Well, that's a starter, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Yolanda, for inviting me to come and be with all of you today. I've been to your beautiful country several times, and I may be coming back soon. So I appreciate so much being with all of you today. Thank you for that great question. So what is the most important habit? What's my favorite habit? Let me try to answer that. So I grew up in the 7 Habits home, right? My father was Stephen Covey. He passed away about 4 years ago. And so I grew up with him teaching us these habits when I was a kid. I think the most important habit is the first one. Because until you habit 1 says be proactive, it says that you're in charge. And until we decide to take charge of our own lives, until we decide that we're not victims, that we are agents, that we can choose, none of the other habits, numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're not possible until we make that choice that, we're in charge. And whatever's happened to us in the past, whatever hard things might have happened to us or setbacks, we can choose going forward how we're going to behave, what we're going to do. That's the power of being proactive. So I think that's the most important one. That's why it's number 1 too. It's first for a reason. And the one that I like the most is having fun, because it's the hardest. I think it's really hard to. It's hard to listen to other people when you know you're right. And sometimes in our roles as leaders, we have a hard time listening. But I found that the key to influence, the key to great relationships in life is to really be a good listener. And if you want to influence other people, you have to first be influenced. It's ironic, but that is the truth. And it's interesting as well, we do these 360 surveys around the world. And we survey people on the 7 habits. We've done this to over 500,000 people. And the habits, the hardest to live for most people is habit 3. That probably doesn't surprise you, but it's putting first things first. And it's hard just because there's so many things competing for your time all the time, every day. Yeah. So yeah. So thank you for that question. So let me ask you a question, young lady. What is your favorite habit?
Je mag het ook in het Nederlands zeggen, als je klaar bent voor, als je dat fijn vindt.
Mijn favoriete habit is, denk, win-win toch wel, want dan is het voor iedereen even leuk. Dus dan
So Puck's answer is her favorite is think win-win, because with think win-win, everybody's having the same amount of fun.
Yeah, that's very good. All right, good job.
Any other question of Ravi, Karsten, Puck, or Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you have a question, please. Wil je de microfoon even geven? Wil jij het nog vertellen? Ravi has a question as well.
Okay.
What do the 7 habits mean to you personally?
What do the 7 habits mean to you personally?
Yeah, sure. Good question, young man. Thank you for that. Well, so let me tell you a little bit about growing up in my house. So my dad was always trying to teach us. He hadn't named the habit yet. He was a professor for about 30 years. He worked at a university, and he would study successful people to try to find out what made them successful. And he studied successful teams and organizations, and that's where he came up with these 7 habits. And so he used to always be teaching us the principles. The 7 habits are based on principles or natural laws. So for example, I would come home from school and I would say something like, my teacher makes me so mad, I'm going to flunk algebra and it's his fault. And my dad would listen to me and then he would take me aside and he'd say, hey, are you playing the victim here? You're going to flunk algebra and it's your teacher's fault, right? So don't you think that you're responsible for flunking algebra, not your teacher? And he'd say things like, if you have a problem with your teacher, go talk with him and figure it out. And I would say, Dad, you're so weird. Where's Mom? And then I would go and talk with my mom, and she would let me blame other people for my problems. So it was a good balance because my dad was always teaching us about principles, these natural laws like responsibility and vision and teamwork. And my mom was always loyal to you, right or wrong. So it worked out pretty good. The 7 habits mean a lot to me because they're part of who I strive to be. I don't always do them as well as I should, but I think the 7 habits are profound. I think it's a breakthrough in the area of social emotional learning and the behavioral sciences. I think my father had insight and wisdom beyond his years and beyond his time, where he was able to synthesize wisdom literature of hundreds of years into a sequenced pattern. So it's a way, the 7 habits are a way of becoming a better person, being a more effective person. It starts with, the whole idea is inside out. It starts with you. And most of our relationship problems with a colleague or a spouse or a teenage daughter or whoever, most of those problems are private problems first. And then to work on relationships, we have to start with ourselves and take charge, be proactive, be able to get in your mind what we want to accomplish with this relationship, making sure first things come first. And by winning that private victory, it gives us strength to win the more important public victories with, dealing with other people. So I think the 7 habits are more relevant than ever before, even though the book was published originally in 1989, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Today, with the global economy and with the speed at which everything is moving, the need for strong relationships hasn't changed. In fact, it's become more important. The 7 habits is all about getting your own act together and then working well with other people. So I think 7 habits are really core to so many things today. So thank you for your good question, young man.
Well done, thank you so much. En dank jullie wel, kinderen van Noorderlicht. Super dat jullie hier waren en zijn. En blijf lekker zitten. We hebben afgesproken dat jullie denken, nou, het is wel klaar, dat jullie ook gewoon lekker weg mogen gaan. Dus voel je vrij.